High Consul Du-1 stood at the large window of his office, looking out at the artificial rings that circled the Confederation's capital planet. After serving for 300 years in the Galactic Confederation, he felt tired. Not physically, his enhanced body would last for centuries more, but deep in his spirit. The door slid open with a soft hiss. His assistant Jia entered, carrying a data pad. "High Consul, I have the reports you asked for about Earth," she said, her voice quiet but clear. Du-1 turned from the window. His office was simple compared to other Confederation leaders' chambers. He preferred function over show. "Thank you, Jia. What did you find?" "The humans are advancing faster than expected," Jia reported. "They've begun to develop clean fusion energy. The development team believes they will crack the code within 5 years." Du-1 nodded slowly. Earth had caught his attention recently. Unlike other young civilizations, humans showed remarkable creativity in solving problems. They made up for their lack of advanced technology with determination and clever thinking. "Administrator Li Jin wants to see you," Jia added. "He says it's about the Earth reports." Du-1 felt a knot form in his stomach. Li Jin had been pushing for more control over emerging civilizations. The administrator believed that younger species needed to be guided, a pretty word for controlled and exploited. The meeting with Li Jin went exactly as Du-1 had feared. In the administrator's luxurious office, decorated with rare artifacts from 100 worlds, Li Jin made his demands clear. "Change the reports," Li Jin ordered, not even looking up from his desk. "Mark Earth's progress as concerning and unstable. We need to justify increased oversight." "That would be a lie," Du-1 said firmly. "Their progress is remarkable and stable." Li Jin finally looked up, his eyes cold. "The truth is what we decide it is, High Consul. The Confederation must maintain order. Younger species need a firm hand. They need freedom to grow," Du-1 argued. "Earth has shown incredible potential." "Potential for chaos," Li Jin cut in. "Look at their history. Wars, pollution, conflict. They need our guidance." Du-1 stood straighter. "Their history shows their ability to learn and improve. Yes, they make mistakes, but they learn from them. That's more than I can say for us." "Careful, High Consul," Li Jin warned. Such words could be seen as disloyal. Back in his office, Du-1 reviewed decades of records. Earth wasn't the first case. The Confederation had been manipulating young civilizations for centuries, all in the name of guidance and order. Jia found him there late in the night cycle. "Sir, are you all right?" "No," Du-1 answered honestly. "Jia, how long have you worked with me?" 87 years, sir. In all that time, have you ever seen me compromise my principles?" Jia smiled slightly. "Never, sir. That's why I've stayed." Du-1 nodded and made his decision. Download everything. Every report, every meeting record, every piece of evidence showing what the Confederation has been doing. And find me everything you can about Earth's current society and culture. "Sir?" Jaya's eyes widened as she understood. "Are you planning what I think you're planning?" "Yes," Du-1 said, looking back out at the artificial rings that suddenly seemed less beautiful and more confining. "I'm going to resign. But first, I'm going to tell the truth. All of it." And then, he smiled for the first time in days. "Then I think I'd like to see Earth for myself." Jaya was quiet for a moment. Then she straightened. "I'll start gathering the data immediately. And sir, when you go, I'd like to go with you." Du-1 looked at his loyal assistant with gratitude. The path ahead would be difficult, but he knew it was right. Sometimes the most advanced civilization wasn't the best one. Sometimes you had to take a step back to move forward. The artificial rings continued their endless circle around the capital, but Du-1 no longer felt trapped by them. For the first time in years, he felt hope. Du-1 and Jia worked through the night cycle, carefully gathering evidence. Their office's soft blue lights cast gentle shadows as they downloaded thousands of files from the Confederation's secure databases. "Sir, look at this," Jaya said, pointing to her screen. "Files about Earth's entertainment broadcasts. The humans share their stories across their whole planet." Do-Won moved to look over her shoulder. On the screen, a human drama played silently. He watched as two people helped a stranger who had fallen, expecting nothing in return. "Download those too," he said softly. "I want to understand them better." Over the next few days, they built their case carefully. During the day, Do-Won attended his usual meetings, watching his fellow officials with new eyes. At night, he and Jia studied Earth's culture through their broadcasts, music, and public records. "They're so young," Jaya commented one evening, reviewing Earth's space exploration history. "But look how far they've come in such a short time." Do-Won nodded, watching a recording of humans celebrating their first moon landing. "They have something we've lost, Jaya. Hope. The belief that tomorrow can be better than today." Their careful work was interrupted when Administrator Li Jin's assistant, Yunha, visited Do-Won's office unexpectedly. "Hi, Consul," she said, bowing slightly. "The administrator wants the modified Earth reports by tomorrow morning." Do-Won kept his face calm. "Thank you, Yunha. I'll handle it personally." After she left, Jaya looked worried. "Sir, we need more time. We haven't finished gathering everything." "Then we'll work faster," Do-Won said firmly. "I won't give them false reports about Earth. Not now. Not ever." They worked through another night. Do-Won found himself drawn to Earth's music. There was something pure about it, something that spoke to his heart. He especially liked their classical music, how it could express so much without any words. "Jia," he said suddenly, "have you thought about what it means to leave? We'll be giving up everything we've known." Jaya didn't look up from her work. "Sir, I gave up everything once before, when I chose to work for you instead of following the normal career path. I've never regretted it." Do-Won smiled, remembering how the young assistant had stood up to her superior, refusing to falsify records even when threatened with demotion. That's why he had hired her. As the night cycle ended, they finished their work. Every piece of evidence was carefully organized and copied. Do-Won had also prepared his resignation speech, simple and clear, just like the humans would write it. "The assembly is in 6 hours, Jaya said, checking their schedule. "Are you ready?" Do-Won looked at the data crystal in his hand, containing all their evidence. "Almost. There's one more thing I need to do." He sat down and began writing a letter, addressing it to Earth's United Nations. It was different from his usual formal Confederation style. Instead, he wrote it simply and honestly, the way he had seen humans write when they spoke from their hearts. "Sir," Jaya asked, curious. "If we're going to ask for sanctuary," Do-Won explained, "they deserve to know why. Not in diplomatic language, but in real words." As the capital's artificial sun began to rise, Do-Won finished his letter. He read it one last time, satisfied that it expressed what he truly felt. Then he looked at Jaya, his most trusted friend in 3 centuries of service. "Whatever happens next," he said, "I want you to know that you've been the best assistant and friend anyone could ask for." Jaya smiled, her eyes bright with emotion. "And you've been the best leader the Confederation never deserved." Together, they watched the sunrise, knowing that by the end of the day, everything would change. Sometimes, Do-Won thought, the bravest decision was to start over. The Grand Assembly Hall of the Galactic Confederation was filled to capacity. Representatives from 1,000 worlds sat in rising tiers, their formal robes creating a sea of colors. Among them sat 2 human observers, recently allowed to attend as part of Earth's preliminary contact program. Do-Won stood at his place on the speaking platform, looking out at the assembled dignitaries. Administrator Li Jin sat in the front row, his expression confident. He clearly expected Do-Won to present the modified reports about Earth. Honored representatives, Do-One began, his voice clear and strong. For 300 years, I have served the Confederation as High Consul. Today, I stand before you to speak the truth. A murmur went through the crowd. This was not the standard opening for a routine report. In her seat near the back, Jaya held the data crystal tightly. The Confederation was founded on noble principles, Do-One continued, to help younger civilizations grow, to share knowledge, to protect peace. But we have failed these principles. The murmur grew louder. Administrator Li Jin's confident smile vanished. I have evidence, Do-One said, nodding to Jaya. She pressed a button, and screens around the hall came to life. Evidence of systematic corruption, of exploitation, of lies told to emerging civilizations, including Earth. The screen showed document after document. Reports altered to show peaceful species as threats. Resources taken from developing worlds. Technologies suppressed to maintain control. High Consul, Li Jin stood up, his voice sharp. You overstep your authority. No, Do-One replied calmly. For the first time in centuries, I am fulfilling it. He turned to address the human observers directly. They sat straighter, suddenly the focus of every eye in the hall. To the representatives of Earth, Do-One said, your world has been judged as primitive, unstable, and in need of control. These judgments are false. Your species has shown remarkable progress, creativity, and most importantly, the capacity to learn from your mistakes. The humans exchanged glances, their expressions a mixture of surprise and interest. I hereby resign my position as High Consul, Do-One announced. The hall erupted in shocked voices. Furthermore, I request asylum on Earth. The chaos that followed was spectacular. Li Jin was shouting for guards. Representatives were standing, arguing with each other. The human observers were speaking rapidly into their communication devices. Jaya made her way through the crowd to stand beside Do-One. Together, they watched their carefully planned revelation unfold. The truth cannot be untold, Do-One said, his voice cutting through the noise. Every world represented here has received copies of this evidence. Every citizen with access to the information networks will know. Security forces entered the hall, but they hesitated, unsure what to do. The human observers had moved closer to the platform, their faces showing not fear but determination. We accept your request for asylum, one of them said clearly, making everyone fall silent. The United Nations has reviewed your letter and evidence. We offer you sanctuary on Earth. Do-One bowed slightly to them, ignoring Li Jin's shouts of traitor from below. Thank you. I look forward to learning from your people, as equals, not as superiors. As they were escorted from the hall by both Confederation security and human protective agents, Jaya smiled. That went well, she whispered. Do-One nodded. Behind them, the assembly had devolved into heated debates. The truth was out. Change would come, whether the Confederation wanted it or not. As they walked toward the landing bay where an Earth ship waited, Do-One felt lighter than he had in centuries. Sometimes, the hardest truth was the most necessary one. The Earth ship descended through clouds toward Seoul, South Korea. Do-One watched through the window as the city appeared below them. The morning sun made the buildings shine, their windows reflecting golden light. It's so different from the capital, Jaya said quietly. She sat beside him, holding a tablet that displayed information about Earth customs. Everything here was built by human hands. The ship landed smoothly at a special facility outside the city. UN Representative Hayan and Security Advisor Min-Ki waited on the landing pad. They stood straight and professional, though their eyes showed natural curiosity about their unusual visitors. Welcome to Earth, Hayan said as Do-One and Jaya stepped onto Earth's soil for the first time. I trust your journey was comfortable. Very much so, Do-One replied. He noticed how the air felt different here. Natural, not filtered through space station systems. Thank you for accepting us. Security Advisor Min-Ki stepped forward, His expression was polite but careful. "We have prepared secure accommodations for you. If you'll follow me, we can discuss the arrangements." As they walked into the facility, Do-One noticed many small details. The doors opened manually instead of automatically. The lights were simple but effective. Everything showed careful engineering within the limits of current Earth technology. "Your evidence has caused quite a stir," Hayan said as they entered a conference room. "The UN Security Council has been in constant meetings since your announcement. The Confederation will try to discredit me," Do-One warned. "They will not accept this situation easily." Min-Ki nodded seriously. "We are prepared for that. Our cybersecurity teams are already monitoring for unusual activity." Jaya looked impressed. "Your digital defenses are more advanced than the Confederation expected. We noticed that during our research. Humanity has learned to be careful," Min-Ki said. "We protect what matters to us." They spent the next few hours discussing practical matters, where Do-One and Jaya would live, how to handle public appearances, what information could be safely shared with Earth's scientists. "We have prepared an apartment for you in a secure building," Hayan explained. "It has been furnished according to Earth customs, but we can modify anything that makes you uncomfortable." Do-One appreciated their thoughtfulness. "Thank you. We want to live as much like normal Earth citizens as possible. It will help us understand your culture better." "Normal citizens don't have security teams," Min-Ki pointed out with a small smile. "But we'll try to be discreet." As evening approached, they were taken to their new home. The apartment was on the 20th floor of a modern building. Large windows offered a view of the city and the mountains beyond. "It's beautiful," Jaya said, watching the city lights come on as the sun set. "So different from artificial lighting." Do-One stood beside her at the window. Below, people walked home from work. Cars moved through the streets. A group of children played in a nearby park. Everything was simpler than what they were used to, but somehow more real. "Tomorrow we'll begin our official meetings," Hayan said. "But tonight, rest. You're safe here." After their Earth hosts left, Do-One and Jaya explored their new home. They figured out how to use the kitchen appliances, laughing at their mistakes. They learned to adjust the temperature controls. Small things, but important steps in their new life. "Do you think we made the right choice?" Jaya asked as they watched the last colors fade from the sky. Do-One looked at the honest work of humanity spread out before them. "Yes," he said firmly. "Here we can make a real difference, not through control, but through understanding." The night settled over Seoul, and two former Confederation officials began their first night as residents of Earth, ready to learn what humanity could teach them. 1 month after their arrival on Earth, Do-One discovered the joy of street food. He stood with local scientist Yu-Jin at a small cart, watching the vendor prepare something called tteokbokki. "The spices might be strong for you," Yu-Jin warned, but Do-One was fascinated by the red sauce and the way steam rose from the rice cakes. "In the Confederation," he said, accepting a small paper bowl, "all food is nutritionally optimized. We lost the art of cooking centuries ago." He took a careful bite, and his eyes widened at the explosion of flavors. Jaya, who had been documenting their Earth experiences, quickly recorded his reaction. "Sir, your face is turning red," she noted with amusement. Yu-Jin had been assigned as their cultural advisor, but she had become a friend. She helped them navigate the small things that didn't appear in official briefings: how to ride the subway, which restaurants were best, how to interact with shopkeepers. "Your technology is different," Do-One said as they walked through a busy market street, "but your solutions are often more elegant than ours." Yu-Jin looked interested. "How so?" "The Confederation solves problems with complexity. More systems, more controls. Humans find simple answers that work just as well." Their walk was interrupted by rain. Do-One watched in fascination as people quickly opened umbrellas or ducked under shop awnings. In the Confederation capital, weather was strictly controlled. Here, nature was part of daily life. "Quick in here," Yu-Jin said, leading them into a small coffee shop. The smell of roasted beans filled the air, another Earth sensation that had no equal in their former home. As they sat with their drinks, Do-won noticed how the other customers acted normally around them. Despite their subtle physical differences, Seoul's residents had quickly accepted their presence. Yesterday, Jaya said, a child asked me why my hair looks like starlight. She touched her silvery hair, smiling. Not about politics or technology, just simple curiosity. Children often see most clearly, Yoo-jin agreed. They notice differences but don't judge them. Do-won watched people pass by the window, each focused on their own life, but part of a greater whole. The Confederation believes advancing technology is the measure of civilization, he said. But they forgot about advancing understanding. The rain continued, creating patterns on the window. A young couple shared an umbrella, laughing as they ran past. A grandmother helped a child jump over a puddle. We're learning more than we're teaching, Jaya observed. Later that evening, in their apartment, Do-won received a message from the UN. They wanted him to share some Confederation sustainable energy technologies. He looked at the formal request, then at the city outside. We'll help them advance, he told Jada. But at their own pace, in their own way. That's what the Confederation never understood. Jaya nodded, updating their daily log. Today's entries: learned about street food, experienced rain without weather control, rode the subway without getting lost, and understood why Earth is worth protecting. Do-won smiled. Their new life was simpler in some ways, more complex in others. But every day brought new discoveries, and that made all the difference. Through the window, Seoul's lights created their own constellation against the night sky, proving that humanity could create beauty without losing touch with what made them human. 3 months after Do-won's arrival on Earth, the Confederation made its move. The morning began normally, with Do-won and Jaya reviewing scientific exchange proposals in their office at the UN facility. Then Han rushed in, her usual calm replaced by concern. The Confederation has released documents about you, she said, turning on the wall screen. They're broadcasting them across all major Earth networks. The screen showed edited footage of Do-won at various Confederation meetings. The videos had been carefully altered to make him appear aggressive and unstable. False documents suggested he had taken bribes and abused his position. Administrator Lee Jin's work, Do-won said quietly. He always preferred complex lies to simple truth. Security advisor Min Ki entered the office, his tablet displaying multiple news feeds. Earth's social media is already responding, he reported, but not how the Confederation expected. They watched as humans around the world began sharing their own experiences with Do-won and Jada. A street vendor posted about how Do-won always thanked him in Korean. A student wrote about Jaya helping her pick up dropped books. Hundreds of small, genuine moments that showed who they really were. The Confederation doesn't understand human nature, Jaya observed. They think technology wins trust. But humans trust what they see with their own eyes. The UN Security Council called an emergency session. Do-won and Jaya attended, ready to defend themselves. But before they could speak, representatives from different nations stood up one by one. The Japanese delegation has footage of High Consul Do-won visiting a children's hospital, one representative said. He spent hours learning origami with the patients. The Brazilian government can confirm that Ms. Jaya has been teaching our scientists about sustainable energy. Another added. Every meeting recorded, every detail documented. More representatives spoke, each sharing evidence of Do-won and Jaya's genuine efforts to help Earth while respecting its independence. The Confederation's carefully planned attack was falling apart. We should release a statement, Han suggested afterward. Something formal to counter their claims. Do-won shook his head. No, let's do something more human. He turned to Min Ki. Can you arrange a public walk through Seoul? No security barriers, no formal speeches, just us meeting people. Min Ki looked concerned, but nodded. We can do it safely. The people will help protect you. The next day, Do-won and Jaya walked through downtown Seoul. They visited shops, talked with street vendors, played with children in the park. News cameras followed them, broadcasting everything live. This is what the Confederation fears, Do-won told reporters who asked about the accusations, not our technology or our knowledge. They fear that we've learned to connect with humans as equals. A small girl offered Jaya a flower. An old man showed Do-won how to play his traditional drum. Each interaction was simple, genuine, and more powerful than any Confederation propaganda. That evening, the UN received a message from other Confederation officials who had watched the day's events. They wanted to open direct dialogue with Earth, bypassing Administrator Lee Jin's office. "You've changed everything," Hayan told Do-won and Jia as they watched the sunset from their office. Not with grand gestures, but with small truths. Do-won smiled, remembering how the Confederation had taught that simplicity was primitive. But here on Earth, he had learned that simplicity was often the highest form of wisdom. 6 months into their stay on Earth, Do-won and Jia established the first interstellar cultural exchange center in Seoul. The modern building combined Earth architecture with subtle elements of Confederation design, creating something entirely new. "We must be careful about what technology we share," Do-won explained to the International Board of Scientists. Earth must develop at its own pace, following its own path. The center's main hall hosted regular seminars where Do-won and Jia shared appropriate knowledge. They taught sustainable energy techniques, medical advances that Earth was nearly ready to discover anyway, and farming methods that could help feed more people. One morning, as Do-won was preparing for a lecture, a familiar face appeared at the center. Tae-young, his former colleague from the Confederation, stood in the doorway. "The assembly sent me to understand," Tae-young said formally. "They want to know why one of our most respected officials chose to live among." He paused, looking around at the simple but elegant building. "Among humans?" Do-won finished. "Come with me. I'll show you." Do-won took Tae-young on a tour, not of advanced facilities, but of ordinary places. They visited a public park where children played without virtual enhancements. They watched artists painting with real brushes on canvas. They stood in a traditional market where people bargained and laughed. "Look at their technology," Tae-young said, pointing at people using smartphones, "so primitive compared to ours. Yet they connect more deeply than we do," Do-won replied. "Watch how they use these devices to bring people together, not to replace human contact." Jaya joined them for lunch at a small restaurant. The owner, Mrs. Kim, had been teaching her traditional cooking. As they ate, Tae-young's formal manner slowly relaxed. "The food has actual taste," he said, surprised. "Not just calculated nutrition. Earth is full of such discoveries," Jaya told him. "They advance differently than we do. Not always forward, sometimes sideways, sometimes even backward. But they learn from every step." That afternoon, they attended a special presentation at the center. Earth scientists shared their latest achievements, developed by combining their own research with the carefully shared Confederation knowledge. "They've improved our designs," Tae-young observed, studying the new solar panel array. "Made them simpler, but somehow more efficient. Because they ask different questions," Do-won explained. "We ask, how can we control this process? They ask, how can we work with it?" As the day ended, Tae-young stood at the center's window, watching Seoul's lights come on. A street musician played traditional music below, the sound drifting up clearly. "I think I begin to understand," he said slowly. "We've been measuring advancement wrong all these years." Do-won nodded. "The Confederation believes perfect order is the highest goal. But Earth shows us that growth comes from embracing imperfection, from trying and failing and trying again." Before leaving, Tae-young made an unexpected request. He asked to extend his stay on Earth for a full month. "To learn more," he said. There are things here the Confederation needs to understand. Do-Won and Jia watched him walk away into the evening crowd, already looking more relaxed, more human. Change was coming, one person at a time. 1 year had passed since Do-Won and Jia first arrived on Earth. The morning sun shone through the windows of Earth's first official interstellar diplomatic office in Seoul, where Do-Won sat reviewing the changes of the past year. The office itself represented something remarkable, a partnership of equals between Earth and the Confederation. Ha-in now served as Earth's chief diplomat for interstellar relations, while Min-ki headed the security division. Together, they had built something entirely new. The latest report from the Confederation Assembly, Jaya said, entering with a data tablet. They've accepted Earth's proposal for direct diplomatic relations. No more oversight programs. Do-Won smiled, remembering how Administrator Lee Jin had once insisted that Earth needed strict control. Lee Jin had resigned 3 months ago, replaced by someone who better understood the new direction. How are the exchange students doing? Do-Won asked. The program had been Ha-in's idea. Young diplomats from Earth training alongside Confederation officials, learning from each other. Exceeding expectations, Jaya replied. The Confederation mentors report that the human students ask questions they never considered, and the Earth universities say the Confederation students are learning to think more creatively. Through the window, Do-Won could see the city he now called home. Seoul had changed too, but subtly. Clean energy systems based on adapted Confederation technology powered more buildings. New medical techniques combined Earth's practical approach with advanced knowledge. But the soul of the city remained purely human. Ha-in entered the office, followed by a group of international representatives. The United Nations Security Council has approved the expansion of the diplomatic program, she announced. We'll be opening offices in other major cities. And the Confederation has agreed to let each office develop independently, Min-ki added, joining them. No standardized procedures. Each location will grow according to local needs and culture. Do-Won stood and walked to the large window. Below, in the office's public garden, children played while their parents attended a cultural exchange seminar. Some of the children were from Confederation families who had followed Do-Won's example, choosing to live on Earth. 1 year ago, he said softly, I thought we were coming to Earth to escape the Confederation's mistakes. But we found something more important. We found a way to help both societies grow better. Jaya joined him at the window. The humans taught us as much as we taught them, she observed. Maybe more. The afternoon brought a ceremony marking the first year of official Earth Confederation relations. But instead of a formal gathering, they held it in a public park. Confederation officials sat on grass for the first time, eating street food and watching cultural performances. Your reports were right, Tae-yum told Do-Won during the celebration. He had become Earth's primary contact in the Confederation. Earth's approach to advancement isn't primitive. It's wise. As evening fell, lanterns lit up the park. Earth music mixed with Confederation harmonies, creating something new and beautiful. Do-Won watched humans and Confederation citizens talking, laughing, and sharing stories. We spent centuries trying to perfect civilization, Do-Won said to Jia. But Earth showed us that perfection isn't the goal. Growth is, change is, and those come from staying connected to what makes us real. The stars appeared above Seoul, and this time, both Earth and Confederation citizens looked up at them with the same sense of wonder, ready to explore the future together.